Hello there. I've been asking myself, and for many years, if Gurdjieff groups really exist. In the last period, I've been able to have a look at the activities of certain groups that are online and that you can have a look in. And also, for many years been following various teachers and so on, activities around on the internet. Of course, that's not everything. There may be some very serious groups here and there that I have absolutely no knowledge of. That's perfectly possible. I also had a chance to speak to somebody from groups in France recently, and got the impression that I always do, which is in what way do the activities of these groups actually reflect Gurdjieff or his teaching? Is there any connection? I'll explain what I mean by that. Gurdjieff's books, his explanations, his teaching, is very unique. It's got a signature. He has a way of doing things. Do these groups actually follow that? It's a question. It's an open question. I don't know. I don't know how these groups arose. I don't know why these groups get the impression that what they are doing means that they are Gurdjieff groups or fourth way groups. Obviously, it doesn't seem that way to me. One thing is about the loss of knowledge. Now, what did Gurdjieff say about knowledge? Let's have a look. Gurdjieff says, "I am personally very pleased to see this curiosity arise in you, even though only in your false consciousness, as I know from experience that this impulse, unworthy of man, can sometimes change in nature and become a worthy impulse called the desire for knowledge, which in its turn helps a contemporary man to perceive and even to understand more clearly the essence of any object on which his attention happens to be concentrated. The desire for knowledge, the wish to actually know something. In these groups, when do they even discuss, meaning the conceptual knowledge, meaning the law of three, the heptaparaparshinok, the ray of creation, when do they even discuss these things? Rarely. The groups that I've seen mostly focus on simple breathing exercises like emptying and filling, or awareness, or counting to 4, or sitting, receiving impressions. Where does the knowledge? Gurdjieff's teaching is largely based on the revelation of incredible amounts of knowledge that is quite extraordinary and never seen before on this planet. But when do these groups even discuss this or take an interest in this knowledge? Now, I know a guy. He says that when he feels good, it's hydrogen 24. When he feels bad, it's hydrogen 48. That's how he talks. Is it? If I'm walking and I say I'm attending to myself, does that mean that I'm in touch with the moving center? I can see that my legs are moving. Does that mean I'm in touch with my moving center? It doesn't. You're using these concepts in a very distant way. You don't really feel the thing in itself. These concepts are parts of the energetic structure of existence. They're literal. They're meant literally. Perhaps that's difficult to get your head around, but they are meant literally. And so if you say that when I'm feeling good it's hydrogen 24 and when I'm feeling bad it's hydrogen 48, you're misusing the concepts. You're giving the appearance that you can feel the energy of hydrogen 24 directly, and you cannot. And many people do that with concepts. If they talk about concepts, they try to make an association between something that's happening and one of the concepts. They say, I see 3 cars in a row, and that's the law of 3. They're trying to make an association, but the thing is they don't feel the energy of the law of 3. So that association is wrong. It gives a misleading appearance. I see that happening very, very much. Even in Maurice Nicole's work, he does that kind of thing. He will occasionally, if he does at all, he will occasionally pull in concepts like the law of 3, and he will try to make an association with it. But he doesn't actually feel the thing in himself. He doesn't feel the energy, the existential energy. For instance, if he's doing some mental processing, he'll talk about the mental center, but he doesn't actually feel and embody the mental center. And as this continues, the whole group and all the students get the impression that using the concepts as a metaphor is normal. So you can say, whenever I see 3 things, that's the law of 3. And you become habituated to using the concepts as a metaphor, and slowly the teaching dies. In the same way, people go to church and they don't believe in the real presence of Christ. And they become habituated, and the teachers start to teach that the presence of Christ is sort of a metaphor. In the Catholic Church right now, you have a lot of talk of the blood of Christ, and they use it as a metaphor. And they read out poetry and they say, this is the blood of Christ. Or they say that the Christians around the world are the blood of Christ. And they use it as a metaphor. And they've completely lost the meaning. I mean, they lost their minds. And it's a degeneration of knowledge. Of course, the blood of Christ actually meant the red fluid inside his body. Gurdjieff described that. Jesus must have dropped a few drops of blood into a cup of wine and let his students drink from it, so that they could have an energetic connection through the second body, so that they could hear his thoughts and so that he could communicate with them. Of course, that kind of practice and knowledge, it's so far beyond this world that it would be hard for people to take that seriously. So now they make this association. The term blood of Christ is used to mean poetry or this or that. And it's the same with Gurdjieff's knowledge. It's starting to unravel, and groups are starting to teach a metaphorical understanding of concepts. For instance, there is one group, whenever they talk about the heptaparaparshinok, they say that the purpose of it is that you don't fall into a ditch. You don't have a kind of a bad day. That's not the purpose of the heptaparaparshinok. The heptaparaparshinok and the law of the octave that was taught, these are energetic flows that are literal and that can be felt. But it's quite difficult to feel them, of course. In order to feel them, you need to develop yourself. You need to have a larger astral body, which helps you to feel the energetic flows in things. Another aspect is, and I think this is very important, I noticed that when I was doing my reupholstery project last year, that my ability to understand Gurdjieff's work massively increased, because I was struggling with some practical task, which was a 3-centered task. And Gurdjieff says that the only magic is in doing, meaning in learning and being able to do more things, for you to literally be able to do more, whether that's paint a car, run a country, blow up a building, or do upholstery. You are literally meant to be able to do more today than yesterday through your efforts. That is the Gurdjieff work, to be able to increase your capacity. That is what is intended. If you're a student of Gurdjieff or the Fourth Way, You are intended to be increasing your ability to do things. So those people who imagine that they can talk or read books or count to 4 and back down to 1, and that's the Gurdjieff work, they're mistaken, because you're not increasing your capacity. And you're not engaging with life in the way that Gurdjieff engaged. You can only learn the cosmic understanding through your engagement with this relative world, whether, whichever field it is, if you're a surgeon or a school teacher or you're gardening. Are you increasing your capacity? Yes or no? It's not a retirement club. It's not an exotic literature book club. Probably half the people have just disconnected from this this video that I'm doing now. Now that I've said that, they won't appreciate it and they'll just switch it off, because for them that's all it is and that's all it ever will be. So be it. So Gurdjieff talked of a teaching that had a wide metaphysical understanding, but could be practiced in any walk of life. But it has to be practiced in a walk of life, in this relative world, in whichever particular task that you're engaged in. It is in that task and in developing your capacity to do real things in the real world. That is the mark of a student. And if you want to emulate Gurdjieff as a man, to feel his spirit and live like that, then you must live like him. He was an active man. He was talented and skilled and did all sorts of things, from the most coarse to the most refined, with equal passion and with equal ability. He was extending his capacity.